FromSoftware's Elden Ring is a popular Soulsborne open-world game in which you explore a decaying world devoid of death called the Lands Between. You play as a Tarnish guided by a mysterious grace to defeat corrupted demigods and ultimately decide the outcome of the world. The game uses complex psychological design and artistic direction that this video will analyze through the lens of psychology and art. The first topic is psychology, which will discuss the psychology of flow and motivation alongside exploration. A main component of appeal in video games, and particularly the Souls genre, is the emotional state of flow. Psychologist Mihaly describes flow as a psychological state of focus achieved through balancing challenge and skill closely enough to create a total absorption and immersion in an activity. The result is shown in players spending hours on video games to achieve a single goal, reporting a loss of sense of self and time. Elden Ring intentionally achieves this state of balance through complex, meticulously constructed bosses like Malekith and the clear goal to defeat them. The game uses delayed attacks, multiple attack phases, and aggressive, agile movement that initially overwhelm the player and force repeated failure and adaptation. This creates an environment in which small improvements are highly rewarding, as player skill is constantly aligned with the challenge. Psychologically, this results in reinforcing mastery, persistence, and engagement, feeding back into the flow state, intrinsic satisfaction, and feeling of glory for the player once they achieve their goal. Mihaly goes on to say, an activity that produces such experiences is so gratifying that people are willing to do it for its own sake, with little concern for what they get out of it. This contributes to the overarching psychology of intrinsic motivation for players, hence why these games are so beloved by fans. Similarly, the theory of self-determination describes the intrinsic motivation and psychology of games. SDT explains that intrinsic motivation is strongest when three psychological needs are met: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Elden Ring's flow psychology discussed greatly contributes to the value of competence. However, I would like to also focus on FromSoftware's skill of motivation through autonomy in Elden Ring's open world. Autonomy is defined as self-governance, emphasizing respect for individual self-determination, namely player choice. A study on Elden Ring's SDT by students at Uppsala, Sweden, found that the open-world structure of the game achieves self-governance by its non-linear player guidance, which enables players to choose how and when to engage in combat. FromSoftware encourages this autonomy through prompting exploration. In the first area, Limgrave, Elden Ring presents the world with several points of interest: the Erdtree, Leyndell. The player has the choice to explore any one of these. In addition to its visual design, Elden Ring strategically places significant rewards of facility, namely weapons and items like the Rivers of Blood Katana, in far edges of the map. The game uses these rewards to positively reinforce acts of exploration, which results in supporting autonomy and hence motivation. The items facilitate the central theme of combat through enhancing the player's existing abilities and progressing their character. The effect is that this creates a game in which players are constantly engrossed, immersed, and most importantly, motivated to play. Next, we will discuss the way Elden Ring uses art and exists as an art, and the impact this has on players. Throughout the many definitions, art is often achieved and defined by its ability to create an emotional impact on the viewer. Whilst it's debated that video games themselves are art, it is agreed that their impact is clearly achieved through the environments, storytelling, and immersion. Elden Ring's moment-to-moment gameplay features sparse NPC encounters, minimal map markers, and thematic lighting with dark symbolic colors. When introducing areas like Leyndell, Elden Ring designs an expansive and detailed composition, utilizing guiding rays of light that guide the viewer's eyeline to the dragon, and contrast between the sharp lines of the buildings and the organic shape of the dragon. This environmental design is timed with sparse, thematic music to make the player feel small, isolated, and encompassed by the scale of the environment. Moreover, the decaying and grotesque objects speak to the story of the decaying world, for example, Caelid's disease-ridden landscape. Bayard Art says that colors elicit a spectrum of emotional responses that can be harnessed to set the mood and tone of an artwork, and in Caelid, the crimson-red color elicits danger and fear. Ultimately, this artistic approach immerses players by creating feelings of isolation, curiosity, anxiety, and wonder, encouraging emotional investment in the world. As a result, the player becomes psychologically engaged through the atmosphere and symbolic meaning conveyed by the game's art direction. Art is often utilized to communicate a cultural dialogue or perspective on the world, using themes and symbolism to impact viewers' opinions or beliefs, and capture and depict the realities, struggles, and triumphs in the world they inhabit. Elden Ring evokes gods and religious figures with comparisons and inspirations from Bosnian art, a surreal, chaotic, and grotesque style inspired by the 15th century Dutch painter, featuring gods and religious figures. The work comprises of key artistic techniques, including surreal compositions and symbolic allegory. In the game, the corrupt character Godric the Grafted is a godly figure warped into a monstrous, corrupted design. The design utilizes the color of gold to symbolize the religious Golden Order, in conjunction with the crown to symbolize power and rule. This associates and compares religion with corruption, exonerated power, totalitarian greed, and order. It evokes horror and fear in players, and in effect, players are confronted to consider the symbolism of the Golden Order as an allegory to religion and oppression in the real world. This commentary can influence the player's choices and provokes consideration and cultural interpretation of religion and oppression. It has the power to change the player's views and evidently prompts discussion in communities. For example, Screen Rant's article, "Are You the Bad Guy in Elden Ring?" In conclusion, Elden Ring utilizes challenge and reward psychology to motivate the players and achieve flow state. The game also uses art to create an emotional reaction in the players, whilst commenting on and prompting a cultural discussion in religion.